A heartless billionaire left his 5-year-old daughter to freeze to death in the mountains. Her heart was failing. The medical bills were crushing him, and she was worth $2 million dead. He walked away without looking back. What he didn't know was that a stranger watched from the trees, a man who'd been paid to make sure the child never left that forest alive. But 15 years later, the chandeliers blazed across the Draytech charity gala. Cameras flashed, champagne glasses clinked. Lennox Drayton stood at the center of it all, smiling for the crowd, shaking hands with donors, accepting praise for his Children's Health Foundation, the foundation built on his daughter's death. The $2 million he collected when she supposedly died had become $2 billion. His empire, his legacy, his spotless reputation. Tonight he was untouchable. Tonight he had no idea that the daughter he'd abandoned was standing 20 feet away. She'd changed her name, worked her way into his company, learned every secret, mapped every lie, and in 7 days she would take him back to those mountains, back to the exact spot where he'd left her to die. What happened there shattered everything he'd built, and it all started with a red cardigan he thought he'd never see again. Before we dive into this story, let us know where you are watching from in the comment section and what time is it right there. Then don't forget to subscribe to our channel to support the work we do here. Now let me take you back to where it all started. Sky noticed the silence first. No cars, no city sounds, just wind and trees and her own breathing, which didn't sound right. Too fast, too shallow. She pulled her red cardigan tighter. The yarn felt scratchy against her hot skin. Her chest hurt. Daddy? He stood a few steps ahead on the narrow forest path. His suit was too dark for a place this empty. His back was turned, shoulders tight. He'd been quiet all morning. No music in the car, no jokes, just short answers and that look on his face. The one that scared her. Daddy, I'm cold. He didn't turn around. Can we go back? My heart hurts. Nothing. She tried to stand, but her legs shook. She dropped to her knees. Her palms hit the frozen ground. Sharp pain shot through her hands. Wait, she cried. Don't leave me. I'll be good. I promise I'll... His footsteps started. Moving away, into the trees. She tried to crawl forward. Her arms burned. Everything started spinning. Please. The forest swallowed him. Then it swallowed her voice too. Sky kept crawling until her arms gave out. She collapsed. The red cardigan was the only bright color in all that gray. Her hand reached out one more time, toward nothing. Then everything went dark. 5 miles away, Elias Rowan sat in his truck. The envelope sat on the passenger seat. Thick, heavy. More cash than he'd seen in years. 2 days ago, a man in an expensive suit had slid it across a diner table. His cologne smelled like money. His watch probably cost more than Elias made in 6 months. There will be a child, the man had said. Calm, like he was talking about the weather. In the mountains. You won't see me there. Just make sure the situation ends there. No police. No questions. Elias had stared at the envelope. Do you understand? Elias took the money. He understood the cash part. He didn't let himself think about the rest. Now he gripped the steering wheel. His hands shook. He needed this money. His sister's cancer medication cost more every month. The mortgage was 3 months behind. Loan sharks had stopped calling and started showing up. Last week, one grabbed his collar. Next time, we won't ask nicely. Elias had no choice. He started the truck and drove up the mountain road. He parked at the trailhead, sat there for 10 minutes, staring at nothing. Just do it. Get it over with. Don't think. He got out and started walking, boots crunching on frozen ground. Each step felt heavier than the last. The envelope sat in his jacket pocket like a stone. He'd done bad things before. Stolen, lied, things he wasn't proud of. But this felt different. He kept walking, faster now, like if he moved quick enough he wouldn't have time to think. Then he heard it. A sound. Small. Broken. He stopped. No, please. No. He followed it off the path, through trees, into a clearing. That's when he saw her. A little girl. Black, maybe 6 or 7, wearing a red cardigan, crumpled on the ground like trash someone threw away. Her lips were blue, eyes half open, not focusing on anything. Frost clung to her hair. "Daddy," she whispered, barely a sound. Elias felt his stomach drop. The envelope in his pocket suddenly weighed 1,000 pounds. Her small hand reached toward nothing. Then it fell. Her eyes started closing. "No," Elias heard himself say. He ran, dropped to his knees beside her, grabbed her up. She was so light, too light, like she was already half gone. Her head rolled against his chest. Her breathing came in tiny, broken gasps. "Stay with me," he begged. "Don't quit. Please don't quit." He stood and started running back down the mountain. His legs screamed. His lungs burned. Branches whipped his face. He didn't care. He didn't think about the money. He didn't think about the man in the suit. He didn't think about his sister or the mortgage or the loan sharks. He just ran. The girl's body bounced with each step. Her breathing got quieter. That scared him more than anything. "Come on, kid. Stay with me." He burst out of the trees. His truck sat in the parking area. He fumbled for his keys with one hand, still holding her with the other. Got the door open, laid her across the back seat. Her lips looked worse now, almost purple. He jumped in front, started the engine. Tires spun on gravel as he pulled out. The nearest hospital was 20 minutes away. He made it in 12. He carried her through the emergency room doors. "Help! Somebody help!" Nurses looked up, saw the girl in his arms. Everything moved fast after that. They took her from him, rushed her through double doors, started shouting medical words he didn't understand. A nurse pointed at a chair. "Sir, you need to wait here." Elias collapsed into it. His hands were shaking. His jacket was soaked with sweat. The envelope sat in his pocket. He pulled it out, stared at it. Blood money, payment for a job he didn't do. His hands were still shaking when a nurse approached with a clipboard. "Sir, we need information. What's her name?" Elias looked up. The question hung in the air between them. He had no idea what her real name was, but he knew if he told the truth, if he said he found her abandoned, there would be questions. Police, investigations. And that man in the expensive suit would know Elias didn't finish the job. "Sir?" Her name? Elias's mouth went dry. "Sky," he said. The word came out before he could stop it. "Sky Rowan." The nurse wrote it down. "And you are?" This was it. The moment that would decide everything. "I'm her father." The nurse wrote it down. Sky Rowan. "Have a seat, Mr. Rowan. The doctor will update you soon." She walked away. Elias sat back down in the plastic chair. His legs felt weak. His heart pounded. What did he just do? He claimed a child he didn't know, gave her a fake name, lied to a hospital. He could go back right now, tell them he made a mistake, that he found her and panicked, that he wasn't really her father. But then what? They'd call the police. There'd be questions, investigations, and that man in the expensive suit would know Elias failed, would know Elias saved the child he was paid to let die. Elias pulled the envelope from his pocket, stared at it. All that cash, enough to solve every problem in his life, except this one. He shoved it back in his pocket and put his head in his hands. An hour passed, then 2. Nurses rushed by. Machines beeped from behind closed doors. Someone cried in another room. Elias stayed in his chair, waiting. Finally, a doctor came out. Older man, tired eyes, white coat stained with coffee. "Mr. Rowan?" Elias jumped up. "Is she okay?" The doctor's face didn't give anything away. "She's stable, for now." "For now? Your daughter has a serious heart condition." "Were you aware of this?" Elias froze. We were getting it checked out." The lie came easier than he expected. The doctor crossed his arms. She's lucky you found her when you did. Another 30 minutes and we'd be having a very different conversation. Elias felt sick. She'll need medication, the doctor continued. Daily. For the rest of her life. Regular checkups every 3 months. Possibly surgery down the line, depending on how things progress. Can I see her? In a moment, but Mr. Rowan, I need to be clear with you. This condition is manageable, but it's expensive. Very expensive. Do you have insurance? Elias's stomach dropped. I'm working on it. Working on it? I said I'm working on it. The doctor sighed. This hospital stay alone will cost several $1,000s. The medication runs about $300 a month. The checkups, the tests, the specialists. You're looking at a significant financial burden. Elias didn't answer. I'm not trying to scare you, the doctor said softer now. I just need you to understand what you're taking on. I understand. Do you have family who can help? The child's mother? It's just me. The doctor studied him for a long moment, then nodded. All right. Follow me. They walked down a hallway, through double doors, past rooms with beeping machines and people in beds. The doctor stopped at a window. She's in there. Elias looked through the glass. Sky lay in a hospital bed. She looked even smaller now. White sheets swallowed her. Tubes ran from her arms. Monitors tracked her heartbeat. Her chest rose and fell. Uneven. Fragile. The red cardigan sat folded on a chair in the corner, stained with dirt and tears. She's been asking for her father, the doctor said. She's scared, confused. She doesn't remember much about what happened. Elias's throat tightened. You can go in. Just keep it brief. She needs rest. The doctor walked away. Elias stood there, staring through the glass. This little girl had no idea who he was, no idea what he'd been paid to do, no idea how close she'd come to dying alone in those woods. He could still walk away, tell the truth, face the consequences. But then, what would happen to her? Back into the system. Foster care, hospitals that didn't care, adults who saw her as a problem. He'd been that kid once, passed around, forgotten. Left to figure out survival alone. He couldn't do it to her. Elias pushed open the door and walked in. Sky's eyes opened slowly, unfocused at first. Then they found him. Daddy, she whispered. The word hit him like a punch to the chest. She thought he was her real father, the one who left her in the woods. Hey, Elias said quietly. He walked to her bedside, pulled up a chair. How you feeling? Tired. Cold. The doctors say you're going to be okay. You just gotta rest. She stared at him. Really looked at him. Her eyebrows pulled together. You came back, she said. Elias froze. You said you'd be right back. I thought you weren't coming. His chest tightened. She thought he was the man who abandoned her, and she was grateful he came back. I'm here now, Elias said. His voice cracked. I'm not going anywhere. She reached out her small hand. He took it. Her fingers were so tiny in his palm. Warm now. Alive. Promise? She whispered. Elias looked at this little girl, this stranger, this child he'd been paid to let die. I promise. She smiled. Just a little. Then her eyes closed again. Elias sat there holding her hand as she drifted back to sleep. The envelope in his pocket felt heavier than ever. He'd crossed a line he couldn't uncross, told a lie he couldn't take back, made a promise he had no idea how to keep. But watching her breathe, watching her chest rise and fall in that uneven rhythm, watching her trust him, even though she had no reason to, he knew he'd made the right choice, even if it destroyed him. 3 days passed before they let Sky leave the hospital. Elias stayed the whole time, slept in the chair beside her bed, ate vending machine food, ignored calls from his sister asking where he was. The nurses brought forms, pages and pages of them, discharge papers, medication instructions, follow-up appointments. bills. Elias signed everything with Sky's new name. His handwriting got messier with each signature. A social worker came by on the second day. Middle-aged woman with kind eyes and a clipboard. "Mr. Rowan, I just need to ask a few questions for our records." Elias's heart jumped. "Okay." "Sky's birth certificate? We'll need a copy for her file." "I'll bring it next visit." "And her previous medical records?" "We just moved. Everything's still packed." The woman wrote something down. "Where did you move from?" "Up north. Small town. You wouldn't know it." More writing. "And Sky's mother?" "Not in the picture." "I see." The woman looked at Sky, who was sleeping. "Has she always had heart issues?" "We knew something was wrong. We were saving up to get it checked properly." The lie came easier each time. The social worker nodded. "Well, you got her here just in time. A few more hours and—" She didn't finish. Elias knew what she meant. She asked a few more questions. Elias answered them all. She seemed satisfied, or maybe just tired. Either way, she left without pushing harder. When she was gone, Elias let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. Storytime. On the third day, a different doctor came in. Younger, sharper. "Mr. Rowan, we need to discuss Sky's long-term care." They went over everything. The medication schedule, warning signs to watch for, emergency procedures. "She can't run too hard, can't get too cold. Stress is bad for her heart. You'll need to keep her calm." Elias wrote it all down on a napkin, his only paper. "One more thing," the doctor said. "Her memories might be fuzzy for a while. The trauma, the cold, the oxygen loss, it can mess with memory. She might not remember exactly what happened." "Is that permanent?" "Hard to say. Some kids remember everything eventually. Others never get it back." The doctor paused. "Sometimes that's better." After he left, Elias sat beside Sky's bed. She was awake now, staring at the ceiling. "When can we go home?" she asked. "Home." She said it like they had one together. "Today," Elias said. "They're getting your papers ready." "Where do we live?" The question hit him hard. She didn't remember, didn't know her real home, her real father, her real life. The doctor was right. The trauma had taken pieces of her memory. "We live in the mountains," Elias said carefully. "Small house, just you and me." She thought about that. "Just us?" "Just us." "What about Mommy?" Elias's throat tightened. "She's not around anymore." "Did she leave too?" "Too." The word hung there. "Yeah," Elias said quietly. "She left too." Sky went quiet. Then she looked at him. "But you came back." "I came back." "You won't leave again?" "No." She believed him. He could see it in her eyes. He wished he believed himself. They left the hospital that afternoon. A nurse wheeled Sky to the exit. Hospital policy. Elias carried a plastic bag with her red cardigan and 3 bottles of medication. The bill came to $8,000. "You can set up a payment plan," the billing woman said. She didn't sound hopeful. "I'll figure it out." He'd been saying that a lot. His truck sat in the parking lot where he'd left it. He helped Sky into the passenger seat, buckled her in. She looked so small sitting there. "Where are we going?" she asked. Good question. Elias couldn't take her to his apartment. His sister was there. She'd ask questions he couldn't answer. He needed a new place. Fast. "Somewhere safe," he said. He drove out of the city, away from everything familiar, toward the small mountain town where nobody asked questions and people minded their own business. Sky fell asleep against the window. Her breathing was still uneven, still fragile. Elias glanced at her, then back at the road. He had no plan, no money, no idea what he was doing. Just a little girl who thought he was her father, and a promise he had to keep. The envelope sat in the glove box now. He'd moved it there so he'd stop feeling it in his pocket. $8,000 in hospital bills, $300 a month for medication, rent, food, everything else. That envelope could solve it all. But touching that money felt like admitting what he almost did. Felt like accepting payment for a job he failed. He kept driving. The mountains rose ahead of them, dark against the sky. Sky stirred, opened her eyes. Are we almost home? Almost. She smiled and closed her eyes again. Elias gripped the steering wheel tighter. Home. He'd have to build one now, for both of them. The house Elias found wasn't much. A tired box on the edge of town, paint peeling, roof sagging, windows that rattled when the wind blew. The landlord was an old man who didn't ask questions, just wanted first month's rent in cash. Elias paid it. Half the envelope money, gone in one transaction. He told himself it was temporary, just until he figured things out. That was 6 months ago. Sky's room had one narrow bed, one dresser with a drawer that stuck, and a window with a crack running through the glass. Elias covered it with cardboard and tape. There. Good as new. She smiled because she could tell he was trying. The kitchen cabinets were mostly empty. Rice, beans, canned soup. On good weeks there was chicken. On bad weeks they ate noodles with nothing on them. Sky never complained, not once. She'd learned fast that complaining made things harder for Elias, made his face tight, made him go quiet. So she stayed quiet too. At night, she'd lie awake listening, the fridge humming, struggling to stay cold. Elias's boots when he came home late from whatever job he'd found that day, his voice on the phone in the kitchen. Low, tense. I need more time. I'll have it next week, I promise. Just give me until Friday. Sometimes there was silence after, the scary kind, the kind that felt like holding your breath underwater. Sky would curl up around her red cardigan, press her face into it. Wait for sleep. This wasn't the life she remembered before. Before the hospital. Before the cold. Her memories of that time were blurry now. Pieces missing. Like trying to remember a dream. She remembered feeling safe once. Warm. Someone singing to her. But the details were gone. All she had now was this house, this room, this life. And Elias, who she called Dad even though something in her chest felt wrong when she said it. School started in the fall. Elias walked her there the first day, held her hand the whole way. You're gonna do great, he said. She wanted to believe him. The other kids had new backpacks, new clothes, moms who kissed them goodbye. Sky had a used backpack Elias found at a thrift store and jeans that were a little too short. She didn't fit in right away. The teacher, Mrs. Patterson, was nice enough, but she had that look, the one adults get when they see a kid who's struggling. Pity mixed with concern. Sky, if you ever need anything, you can talk to me. Sky nodded. She wouldn't, though. Talking meant questions. Questions meant lies. Lies felt heavy. Gym class was the worst. They were supposed to run laps. Sky made it halfway before her chest started hurting. She stopped, sat down on the track. Kids ran past her. Why'd you stop? You tired already? The gym teacher jogged over. You okay, Sky? My heart hurts. The teacher's face changed. Go sit on the bleachers. You can sit out today. It wasn't just today, though. Sky sat out most days. The other kids noticed. Why don't you ever play? Are you sick or something? My mom says some people are just born lazy. That last one stung. Sky wasn't lazy. She was fighting something they couldn't see, but she didn't know how to explain that, didn't know how to make them understand. So she stayed quiet, ate lunch alone, went home as fast as she could. One day she came home and found Elias at the kitchen table. Bills spread out in front of him, head in his hands. She stood in the doorway, quiet. He looked up, tried to smile, failed. Hey kid, how was school? Fine. He went back to the bills. She could see the numbers. all red, all angry. "Are we going to be okay?" she asked. Elias looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time she saw how tired he was, how scared. "Yeah," he said, "we're going to be okay." Another lie. She knew it. He knew it. But they both pretended. That night, Sky heard him on the phone again. Voice lower than usual. "I can work weekends, double shifts, whatever you need." Silence. "Please, I've got a kid to feed." More silence. "Thank you. Thank you so much." When he hung up, she heard him let out a long breath. Then something else. A sound she'd never heard from him before. Crying. Quiet. Careful. Like he didn't want her to hear. Sky pulled her blanket over her head and squeezed her eyes shut. She wanted to help, wanted to fix things. But she was just a kid with a broken heart and a life that didn't make sense. All she could do was try not to be more trouble. Try not to cost too much. Try not to need too much. Try to be small. She was good at being small. The months dragged on. Elias worked construction, dishwashing, anything that paid cash. His hands were always scraped, nails black, back bent. Some weeks the money almost stretched. Most weeks it didn't. The medication cost $300 every month, like clockwork, no negotiation. Sky needed it to live, so Elias made it work, somehow. But she could see the cost in his face, in the way he moved, in the way he sometimes forgot to eat because there wasn't enough for both of them. One night she put half her dinner back on his plate when he wasn't looking. "I'm full," she lied. He knew, but he ate it anyway. Because that's what broke people do. They take care of each other in the only ways they can. And they pretend it's enough. By the time Sky turned 8, she'd spent more time in hospitals than most kids her age. Regular checkups every 3 months, blood tests, heart monitors, doctors poking and prodding while she sat still and pretended it didn't hurt. Elias took off work every time. Lost pay he couldn't afford to lose. But he never missed an appointment. The doctors always said the same things. Her heart was weak. She needed to be careful. Any fever, any chest pain, any trouble breathing, straight to the emergency room. It happened more than Sky wanted to admit. Twice that year she woke up in the middle of the night unable to breathe right. Elias rushed her to the ER both times. They'd sit in those bright waiting rooms for hours. Elias holding her hand, Sky trying not to cry because crying made her chest hurt worse. "You're tough," he'd say. "You've survived worse than this." She believed him, even when her body felt like a prison she couldn't escape. School got harder as she got older. Not the work. Sky was smart. Her memory was sharp. She could read something once and remember it perfectly. Teachers loved that part. But the rest? The stairs between classes that made her chest burn. The gym requirements she couldn't meet. The way she had to move slower than everyone else. That part they didn't love. One day in 3rd grade, they were running the mile, required for everyone. Sky made it 1 lap before she had to stop. She bent over, gasping, hand pressed to her chest. The gym teacher blew his whistle. "Rowan, keep moving." "I can't," she managed. Can't or won't. Other kids slowed down, watching. "My heart. Everybody's tired. That's the point. Push through it. I have a condition," she said, louder now, embarrassed. The teacher's face changed. "Oh, right. Go sit down." She walked to the bleachers while everyone stared. A boy named Marcus laughed. "Why you always look so tired? You like 80 years old or something?" A girl next to him added, "My mom says some people are just born weak." Sky's face burned. She wasn't weak. She was sick. There was a difference, but nobody seemed to care about that difference. At lunch, she sat alone. Not because kids were mean exactly, more because she was different, quiet, always tired, always sitting out. Hard to make friends when you can't do what everyone else does. She ate slowly, carefully, aware of every beat of her heart. Sometimes it skipped, or stuttered, or beat too fast for no reason. Those moments scared her more than she let on. She'd close her eyes and count her breaths until it passed. 1, 2, 3. Calm down. It always passed. But what if one day it didn't? That afternoon, she came home to find pill bottles lined up on the kitchen counter. 3 of them now. They'd added a new one last month. Next to them sat a stack of papers, bills, all stamped with red letters. Past due, final notice, disconnection, warning. Skye stared at them, did the math in her head. Her medication cost $900 a month now, 3 pills times $300 each. Elias made maybe $2,000 on a good month. Rent was $600. That left $500 for everything else. Food, gas, electric, water, phone. The numbers didn't work. She knew they didn't work, but Elias kept trying anyway. She started helping however she could. At 9 years old, she babysat for neighbors, 50 cents an hour. She helped Mrs. Chen next door with her garden. Mrs. Chen paid her in vegetables and sometimes a $5 bill. She collected cans from the park, turned them in for recycling money. Every crumpled bill she brought home, she gave to Elias. "You don't have to do this," he'd say. "I want to help." His face would do something complicated. Pride mixed with shame, mixed with love. He'd take the money, because he had to. On bad days, when her heart acted up and she couldn't go to school, Skye would lie in bed and listen. The phone ringing. Elias not answering. The fridge groaning. Fighting to stay cold with half-broken parts. The sound of Elias in the kitchen late at night, scraping together leftovers, giving her the bigger portion while pretending he already ate. She heard everything, remembered everything, and understood more than a 9-year-old should. They were drowning. Slowly, quietly, and no matter how hard they both tried, the water kept rising. One night, she heard Elias on the phone. "I need an extension. Please. Just 2 more weeks." Pause. "I understand, but I've got a sick kid. The medication alone costs..." Pause. "I'm not making excuses. I'm asking for help." Pause. "Fine. I'll have it by Friday." He hung up. Skye heard him sit down hard, heard him breathe out slow, then silence, the kind that felt like defeat. She pulled her red cardigan tighter and closed her eyes. She didn't know who her real father was, didn't remember the life before, but she knew Elias was trying, killing himself, trying. And it still wasn't enough. That was the hardest part. Not that they were poor, but that trying your absolute hardest still left you behind. Elias couldn't fix Skye's heart. He could fix a leaking pipe, a broken engine, a cracked window, but not her. That truth ate at him every single day. He worked wherever anyone would hire him, construction sites where his back screamed by noon, diners where he washed dishes until midnight, odd jobs around town that paid cash under the table. His hands were always scraped raw, nails permanently black with grease and dirt. His shoulders ached so bad some mornings he couldn't lift his arms, but he showed up anyway, because Skye needed her medication, needed food, needed a roof, needed him to keep the promise he made in that hospital room. Some weeks, the money almost worked. He'd count bills on the kitchen table and think, maybe, just maybe, they'd be okay this month. Most weeks it didn't work at all. He'd sit there at 2 in the morning, calculator in hand, moving numbers around like a puzzle with missing pieces. Rent plus medication plus food plus electric equals more than he had. Every single time. Late one night, after Skye went to bed, Elias pulled out the old metal toolbox from under his bed. He kept it hidden there. Never touched it unless he had to. Inside, buried under rusted wrenches and tangled wires, sat the envelope. Still thick. Still full. He hadn't spent a single bill. Not one. He pulled it out now. Stared at it in the dim light. $7,000 left. Maybe more? He'd stopped counting after that first rent payment. This money could clear the hospital debt that kept growing. could fix the roof before winter, could buy Sky new shoes that actually fit her feet instead of the too small ones she wore without complaining. All he had to do was use it. Simple. Except it wasn't simple at all. This money had a price, a meaning. It was payment for a job, a terrible job he'd almost done. Taking this money felt like admitting something, like accepting what he'd been hired to do, like saying it was okay. "I won't," he muttered to himself. "I can't." He remembered Sky in that hospital bed. Small, fragile, eyes glassy with fever and fear. The way she'd grabbed his shirt with her tiny hand. "Don't leave me," she'd whispered. He'd promised he wouldn't. But in a way, he had left her with a lie she didn't know about. Left her with a truth he was too scared to tell. She didn't know her real name, her real father, her real life. She thought Elias saved her because he was her dad. She didn't know he'd been paid to let her die. That secret sat between them every single day. Invisible. Heavy. Some nights Elias thought about telling her, getting it over with, letting her decide if she still wanted him around, but then he'd look at her, see how she smiled when he came home from work, how she saved half her food for him, how she trusted him completely, and he couldn't do it, couldn't risk losing the only good thing he'd ever done in his miserable life. So he shoved the envelope back into the toolbox, buried it under the tools, pushed the whole thing back under his bed. He'd rather starve than touch that money. Rather break his back working 3 jobs. Rather fall apart completely. Anything but admit what he almost was. The next morning, Sky found him asleep at the kitchen table, still in his work clothes, still wearing his boots. Bills spread out in front of him. Red stamps everywhere. She stood in the doorway, watching him. His face looked older than it should. Lines around his eyes. Gray in his hair that wasn't there a year ago. He was destroying himself for her. She knew that, and she didn't know how to stop it. She walked over quietly, picked up his jacket from the floor, found a $20 bill in the pocket from yesterday's work. She took it, added it to the jar under her bed where she kept the money from babysitting and odd jobs. $43 now, not enough to matter. But she kept saving anyway, because she had to do something, had to help somehow, even if it was useless. Elias woke up an hour later, saw her making breakfast. 2 eggs, 1 for each of them. "Morning, kid." Morning. She didn't mention the money. He didn't mention falling asleep at the table. They both pretended everything was fine. That's what they did. Pretended. Because the truth was too heavy to carry out loud, so they carried it in silence instead. Day after day, week after week, both of them drowning, both of them too stubborn to ask for help, both of them trapped by a lie that was supposed to save her, but was slowly killing him. And somewhere in a city far away, a man in an expensive suit lived his life without ever thinking about the child he left in the mountains, without ever wondering if she survived, without ever losing a single night of sleep. While Elias lost all of his, most people forgot things, faces blurred together, conversations faded, yesterday mixed with last week until it all became one big fog. Not Sky. She remembered everything, the exact words Mrs. Patterson used when she handed back a failed math test in 3rd grade. The menu from the diner Elias took her to on her 8th birthday. Which floorboard in the hallway squeaked twice instead of once. She didn't try to remember. Her brain just kept it all. Every detail, every moment, every word. At first it helped. She didn't need to study for tests. She'd read the textbook once and see the pages clearly in her mind during the exam. Just flip through them like a file cabinet. Teachers called her gifted, smart, a natural. Other kids asked her for answers. She became useful that way, but the memory didn't just keep the good stuff. It kept everything. She remembered the boy in 4th grade who said her clothes smelled like poverty, the exact tone he used, the way other kids laughed, She remembered every time Elias came home and tried to hide how tired he was, every forced smile, every lie about having already eaten. She remembered sounds that other people would forget, dry leaves crunching under boots, branches scraping against windows at night, the hollow echo of footsteps walking away. Those sounds brought something back, something from before the hospital, before this life. She'd hear them and feel her chest go tight, not from her heart condition, from something else. Fear, maybe, or memory trying to surface. At night, lying in bed, she'd close her eyes and see shapes in the dark. Trees, fog, cold ground, a man's back, dark suit, walking away. She never saw his face, just his shadow, just the feeling of him leaving. Sometimes she'd wake up reaching for someone who wasn't there, calling out for someone whose name she couldn't remember. Daddy? But it didn't sound right, didn't feel right. Because the daddy in her dreams wasn't Elias, it was someone else, someone she couldn't quite picture. She told herself it was just nightmares, just her brain being weird, but deep down, she knew better. Something happened to her before Elias found her, something bad, and her memory wouldn't let it go completely. One day in 5th grade, a girl named Amanda brought in old family photos for show and tell. Pictures of her as a baby, her parents smiling, birthday parties, Christmas mornings. "This is me when I was 3, Amanda said, holding up a photo. "I don't remember this day, but my mom says it was my first time at the beach." Everyone laughed, shared stories about baby pictures and embarrassing moments they didn't remember. The teacher looked at Sky. "Do you have any baby photos, Sky?" The room went quiet. Sky's stomach dropped. "No," she said. "None at all? We lost them. When we moved." Another lie, added to the pile. But what else could she say? She had no baby pictures, no early memories that made sense, no stories about her first steps or first words, just a red cardigan and a hospital bed and a life that started when she was almost 7. Everything before that was blank, or worse, full of shadows and sounds that didn't connect to anything real. After class, Amanda came, up to her. "That's sad, about your photos. It's okay. Do you remember anything from when you were little?" Sky hesitated. "Some things." "Like what?" "Cold, trees, being scared." "Normal stuff," Sky said instead. Amanda smiled and walked away. But the question stuck with Sky for days. What did she remember? She sat in her room that night and tried to push back further, past Elias, past the hospital, past the cracked house. She closed her eyes and focused. There was warmth once, someone singing, soft hands, a voice that felt safe. Then it changed. Silence, cold, a car ride with no music, fear sitting in her chest like a stone. Then the forest, then nothing, then Elias. The gap between those moments felt huge, important. But when she tried to see it clearly, her head started hurting. Her heart would speed up, her hands would shake, so she stopped trying. Some memories didn't want to be found, or maybe they were protecting her from something she wasn't ready to know. Either way, Sky learned to live with the holes in her past. She remembered everything from the moment Elias carried her into that hospital. But before that, just shadows, just sounds, just the feeling that someone had left her behind. And no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't remember who. Sky learned to tell how bad things were just by listening. If the phone rang 3 times during dinner, it meant debt collectors. If Elias answered, his voice would drop low, words getting tighter with each sentence. If he didn't answer, the silence after was worse than any conversation. The fridge made a grinding sound when it tried too hard. When Sky opened it and saw mostly empty shelves, that sound felt louder somehow. She'd stand there hoping something new would appear. It never did. Some nights they ate okay. Pasta with sauce. Chicken if Elias got paid that day. Other nights she'd hear him in the kitchen after she went to bed, scraping together leftovers, splitting one portion into 2 plates, giving her the bigger half while pretending he already ate at work. She always knew. She heard everything. Once the power got shut off. Sky came home from school and the house was dark. No hum from the fridge, no lights. Elias was already home, sitting at the kitchen table with a candle between them. "Power company made a mistake," he said. "They'll fix it tomorrow." Sky knew it wasn't a mistake, but she played along. "This is kinda nice," she said, forcing a smile. "Like camping." Yeah, like camping. They ate cold sandwiches by candlelight. Elias stared at the disconnect notice on the counter. Sky pretended not to see it. The power came back 3 days later, after Elias worked a double shift and paid whatever he could scrape together. He never said anything about it. Neither did she. At school, Sky started noticing things. Other kids had new backpacks every year, new shoes that weren't falling apart, lunchboxes with actually food inside, not just whatever was cheapest at the store. They talked about vacations, birthday parties at fancy places, things their parents bought them just because. Sky had never been on vacation, never had a birthday party. Last year, Elias bought her a cupcake from the gas station and stuck a candle in it. Make a wish, kid. She'd wished they had enough money, that Elias didn't have to work so hard, that her heart would fix itself. None of it came true. One day, a girl named Jessica asked her, "Why do you always wear the same jeans?" Sky looked down. The jeans were too short now, frayed at the bottom. "I like them. They're old, though." "So?" Jessica shrugged. "My mom says people who don't take care of themselves usually have problems at home." The word stung more than Sky expected. She wanted to say they didn't have problems, but that would be lying. She wanted to say it wasn't about taking care. It was about not having money, but that felt like admitting something she didn't want to admit. So she said nothing, just walked away. By 6th grade, Sky was working every chance she got. Babysitting on weekends, $2 an hour. Helping Mrs. Chen with yard work. She paid in vegetables and sometimes $5. Tutoring younger kids with homework. Whatever their parents could spare, every crumpled bill went into the jar under her bed. When she had $20 saved, she'd give it to Elias. "You don't need to do this," he'd say every time. "I know." But she did need to, because watching him break himself apart was worse than being tired. One Saturday, she babysat for 6 hours, made $12. On the way home, she passed a store window, saw a jacket on sale, warm, no holes. Elias's jacket was held together with duct tape. She stood there for 10 minutes, staring at it, doing math in her head. The jacket cost $15. She only had 12. She walked away. The medication was more important. The rent was more important. Everything was more important than a jacket. That night she counted the money in her jar. $32. She heard Elias in the kitchen. On the phone again. "I understand it's late. I'm asking for 1 more week. Please." Pause. "I've got the medication to pay for. My kid's sick. She needs..." Pause. "I'm not making excuses. I'm explaining." Pause. "Fine, I'll have it by Monday." He hung up. Sky heard him sit down, heard his breathing, uneven, shaky. She grabbed her jar and walked into the kitchen. "Here," she said, putting the bills on the table. Elias looked up. His eyes were red. "Sky, no. Take it. You worked hard for this." "So did you." They stared at each other. Then Elias took the money. Not because he wanted to, because he had no choice. "Thank you," he whispered. Sky went back to her room. She didn't cry. Crying wouldn't help. But she lay in bed thinking about all the sounds poverty made. The phone ringing. The fridge struggling. Elias's voice getting quieter each time he asked for more time. Her own footsteps walking past things she wanted but couldn't have. Poverty wasn't just about not having money. It was about the sound of doors closing, opportunities disappearing, hope getting smaller, and no matter how hard they both worked, those sounds never stopped. The first time Sky saw him, she almost dropped the plate she was drying. She was 13 now, working part-time at Joe's Diner after school, washing dishes, wiping tables, whatever they needed. The diner's old TV hung in the corner, picture fuzzy, sound turned up just enough to hear over the noise of customers. Sky was putting away clean plates when the evening news came on. Tonight, tech billionaire Lennox Drayton hosts his annual Children's Health Gala. She looked up. The screen showed a man in a black suit. Tailored, expensive. His hair was neat, touched with gray at the temples. He smiled for the cameras, but his eyes stayed cold. Sharp. Sky's hand stopped moving. Something in her chest twisted. She knew that face. No, that wasn't right. She'd never seen him before. But her body knew him. Her heart started beating faster. Wrong rhythm. The kind that meant trouble. Drayton's foundation has donated over $50 million to children's hospitals nationwide. The reporter continued. His work has been a lifeline for families struggling with medical expenses. Families. Medical expenses. Sky's grip tightened on the plate. The camera zoomed closer on his face. He was shaking hands with someone, smiling that same cold smile. Her vision blurred at the edges. She heard something. Not from the TV, from inside her head. A voice. Low, distant. "Just stay here. I'll be right back." Her knees went weak. "Sky," Joe called from behind the counter. "You okay? That plate's not going to dry itself." She blinked. The sound in her head stopped. "Yeah, sorry." She forced herself to look away from the TV. Finished drying the plate. Put it away. But her hands were shaking. She couldn't stop thinking about it. That night, lying in bed, she saw his face again. Heard that voice. It didn't make sense. She'd never met a billionaire. Never been anywhere near someone like that. But something connected. Something she couldn't explain. She got up. Went to the kitchen where Elias kept his old laptop. The screen had a crack through it, but it still worked. She typed the name into the search bar. Lennox Drayton. Pages of results flooded the screen. Tech magnate, philanthropist, CEO of Draytech Global. Multiple articles about his charity work. Photos of him at fancy events. Speeches about helping children. Sky scrolled through it all. Then she found an older article, from 15 years ago. A photo of Lennox standing next to a young black woman. She was holding a baby wrapped in a red blanket. Sky leaned closer. Her chest got tight again. Not from her heart condition. From something else. The blanket. Red. She looked across the room at her cardigan hanging on the chair. Red. Worn. Patched in places. The same red. No, that was crazy. Lots of people had red blankets, but she couldn't shake the feeling. She clicked on the photo. Tried to read the caption. Most of it was cut off. Lennox Drayton with... The rest was missing. She searched for more photos. More articles about his personal life. Nothing. Everything was about his business, his charity, his success. No mention of family, no mention of a wife, no mention of children, like his personal life didn't exist. Or like he'd erased it. The next morning at breakfast, Sky watched Elias carefully. He sat at the table with his coffee, looking at his phone. Same routine as always. "Can I ask you something?" she said. "Sure." "Do you know who Lennox Drayton is?" Elias's hand froze, just for a second. So fast most people wouldn't notice. But Sky noticed everything. "Who?" he said. "Lennox Drayton, the billionaire." "Never heard of him." His voice was flat, too flat. "He was on the news yesterday. Does charity work for sick kids." Elias took a sip of coffee. Didn't look at her. "Good for him. I feel like I've seen him before." Now Elias looked up. His jaw was tight. "You haven't." How do you know? Because we don't know people like that, Sky. We're not in that world. There was an edge in his voice, something sharp. I just thought, you're wrong. He stood up, grabbed his work jacket. I gotta go. You need anything before I leave? No. He walked out without saying goodbye. Sky sat there, staring at his empty coffee cup. He was lying. She didn't know how she knew, but she knew. Elias recognized that name, and it scared him. That night, she searched again. Hours on the laptop, reading every article she could find about Lennox Drayton. The more she read, the more something felt wrong. All these stories about him helping children, donating to hospitals, saving families from medical debt. But there was something cold about it. Something performative. Like he was trying to prove something, or hide something. She found a video of him giving a speech at one of his galas. "Every child deserves a chance," he said into the microphone, cameras flashing, people clapping. No family should have to choose between their child's health and their financial survival. Beautiful words, but his eyes stayed empty. Sky watched the video 3 times. By the 3rd time, she was sure. This man was connected to her somehow. She didn't know how, she didn't know why, but every instinct in her body screamed that Lennox Drayton was part of the life she couldn't remember, the life before Elias, the life that left her in the cold. 3 days later, the TV was on at home. Same channel, same segment about Lennox's charity work. Elias walked out of the kitchen carrying 2 mugs of tea. He saw the screen and froze. His whole body went rigid. He moved fast, grabbed the remote, changed the channel. "Hey," Sky said, "I was watching that." "You don't need to watch that." "Why not? Just rich people showing off. That's all it is." Sky stood up. "You're doing it again." "Doing what?" "Acting weird whenever his name comes up." Elias put the mugs down hard. Tea splashed onto the table. "I'm not acting weird." "Yes, you are. You know him, I can tell." "I don't know him, Sky." "Then why do you get so tense every time I mention him?" "I don't." "Stop lying to me." The words came out louder than she meant, sharper. Elias's face changed, anger mixed with something else. Fear, maybe. "Watch your tone." "Tell me the truth, then." "There's nothing to tell." Sky felt frustration boiling over. "Every time anything about money or rich people comes on, you shut down. You won't talk about my past. You won't tell me anything about before the hospital. What are you hiding?" "Some things are better left alone." "My life isn't a thing." She was yelling now, couldn't stop herself. "I deserve to know where I came from, who I was, why I can't remember anything before I was 7. Elias's jaw clenched. "You want the truth?" "The truth is you almost died. I found you and saved you. That's all that matters." "That's not all that matters." "What about my real family? My real name? What if someone's looking for me?" "Nobody's looking for you." The words came out too fast, too certain. Sky stepped back. "How do you know that?" Elias realized his mistake. His face went pale. "I just meant, how do you know nobody's looking for me unless you know something you're not telling me?" Silence, heavy and thick. "Elias." She used his name, not Dad. "What did you do?" "I saved your life." "That's not what I asked." He turned away, ran his hands through his hair. "You wouldn't understand. Try me." "No." "Why not?" "Because you'll hate me." His voice cracked. He spun back around, eyes red. "You'll hate me, and you'll leave, and I can't." He stopped, breathed hard. "I can't lose you." Sky's anger faltered. She'd never seen him like this. Breaking, desperate. "What did you do?" she asked again, quieter now. Elias shook his head. "I can't tell you. Not yet. Maybe not ever." "That's not fair." "Life's not fair, Sky. You should know that by now." The words stung. She grabbed her jacket. "Where are you going?" "Out." "Sky, I need air." She walked out, slammed the door behind her, stood on the porch breathing hard, heart racing in that dangerous way. Inside, she heard something crash. Elias hitting the table maybe, or throwing something. Then silence. She sat down on the steps. For the first time in years, she wondered if Elias really was her father, or if that was just another lie in a life built on lies. Sky's teenage years didn't come with glow-ups or miracles. They came with exhaustion. By 14, she was working 20 hours a week on top of school, babysitting, tutoring, washing dishes at the diner whenever Joe needed extra hands. Homework happened on bus rides or late at night while Elias snored on the couch, still wearing his work boots. She grew up faster than her body was ready for. Her heart condition didn't magically disappear either. Some days were okay. Other days sent her back to the emergency room, chest tight, breathing wrong. Elias pacing the waiting room like a man being hunted. Sky hated hospitals. Too bright. Too white. Too expensive. But she went when she had to. Took her pills every morning. Tried not to think about how much each one cost. The fight with Elias left a crack between them that never fully healed. They still lived together, still ate dinner across from each other, still pretended things were fine. But something had changed. She didn't call him Dad anymore, just Elias. He noticed, never said anything, but she saw it hurt him. Good, she thought sometimes, then felt guilty for thinking it. School became her escape, not the social part. She still didn't fit in, still sat alone at lunch, still wore clothes that didn't quite match because she bought whatever was cheapest at the thrift store. But the learning part? That she could do. Her memory made everything easier. Read something once, remember it forever. Teachers started noticing. Pushing her toward advanced classes, talking about college like it was possible. Sky didn't let herself hope. College cost money they'd never have. But she studied anyway. Late nights in the library, free internet, free heat, free quiet. She taught herself things school didn't cover. Basic coding, financial literacy, how systems worked, how money moved. She didn't know why it mattered, just felt like knowledge was the only thing poverty couldn't take from her. One evening she stayed late working on a research paper. The school computer screensaver flickered on. A Draytech logo. Her stomach dropped. The school's internet system ran on Draytech technology, donated by Lennox Drayton's Foundation 3 years ago. She stared at the logo until the librarian told her it was closing time. Walking home, she couldn't stop thinking about it. Lennox's name was everywhere once you started looking. Technology, charity, hospitals, schools. Like he was trying to touch every part of society. Or control it. She wanted to ask Elias again. Demand answers. But the last fight had been bad enough. So she stayed quiet. And the silence grew heavier every year. At 16, she got her first real paycheck. A data entry job. Remote. Flexible hours. $10 an hour. It wasn't much. But it was hers. She started saving differently now. Not just loose bills in a jar, a real bank account, plans. She didn't know what the plans were yet. Just knew she needed options. Because living like this, scraping by, barely surviving, one emergency away from losing everything, wasn't sustainable. Something had to change. Elias noticed her pulling away, working more, talking less. You okay, kid? Fine. You sure? Yeah. Same conversation, different day. He wanted to fix it, she could tell, but he didn't know how, neither did she. The truth sat between them like a wall, growing taller every year. One night, she came home late from work, found Elias at the kitchen table, drunk. He never drank, couldn't afford to, but there he was, bottle in front of him, head in his hands. Elias? He looked up, eyes red, face wrecked. I'm sorry, he slurred. For what? Everything. All of it. You deserved better. Sky stood in the doorway, unsure what to do. Go to bed. You're drunk. I should have told you. Should have been honest from the start. Her heart jumped. Told me what? He shook his head. Can't do that to you. Elias, you're the only good thing I ever did. The only thing. And it's built on, he stopped, swallowed hard. On something broken. What does that mean? He didn't answer, just put his head back down. Sky waited, hoping he'd keep talking, hoping he'd finally tell her, but he passed out instead. She stood there for a long time, staring at him. Then she went to her room, pulled out her laptop, searched Lennox Drayton again. This time she dug deeper, past the charity headlines, past the success stories. She found smaller articles, buried stories, mentions of a daughter who died. Years ago. No details, just a footnote in his biography. Survived by no immediate family. Sky's hands shook as she read it. A daughter. Dead. Her age would have been right. The timeline matched, but that was impossible. She was alive, unless someone declared her dead when she wasn't, unless someone erased her. The room felt too small suddenly, too hot. Her heart did that wrong rhythm thing, the dangerous kind. She closed the laptop, lay down, tried to breathe, but sleep didn't come. Just questions, and a growing certainty that everything she thought she knew about her life was a lie. Curiosity became habit. Habit became obsession. By 17, Sky spent every free hour researching Draytech Global. Not because she had proof yet, not because she knew for certain, but because that company felt like a shadow following her life. Something connected. Something wrong. She started with the public stuff. Annual reports, press releases, charity announcements. Everything looked clean on the surface. Perfect even. But Sky had learned that perfect usually meant hiding something. She dug deeper. Financial disclosures that didn't quite add up. Charity events that cost more to throw than they actually raised. Tax documents with weird gaps. Nothing illegal exactly. Just off. Like someone was very good at making things look better than they were. The more she read about Lennox, the less she liked him. Every interview was the same. Polished, rehearsed. He talked about helping people but never seemed to actually care about them. His eyes stayed cold in every photo. His smile never reached them. One night, she found an old article from 12 years ago, back when Draytech was smaller, before Lennox became famous. The article mentioned a personal tragedy that drove his charitable work. After the loss of his daughter, Drayton dedicated his life to ensuring no child would suffer as she did. Sky read it 3 times. His daughter, the one who supposedly died. She clicked around, found more mentions, always vague, never detailed, just Drayton's late daughter, or the tragic loss that changed everything. No name, no photos, no real information, like she'd been erased from public record. Sky's chest tightened. She opened a new search, typed carefully. Lennox Drayton daughter death certificate. Public records. Death certificates were public in most states. She searched for hours. Different databases, different years. Nothing came up. No death certificate, no obituary, no funeral announcement. Either it was sealed or it didn't exist. At 3 a.m, she finally found something. An archived news story from 15 years ago. Small local paper. Barely a paragraph. Billionaire's daughter missing after mountain incident. Search called off after 3 days. Presumed deceased. Presumed. Not confirmed. Sky's hands shook as she read the rest. Due to severe weather and terrain difficulty, recovery efforts were suspended. Drayton released a statement asking for privacy during this difficult time. No body recovered. No confirmation. Just presumed dead, and then silence. The story disappeared after that. No follow-up articles, no investigation reports, nothing. Like someone had buried it, made it go away. Sky sat back. Her heart pounded wrong. She pulled up a photo of Lennox from that time period, found one from a memorial service. He looked sad, appropriate, like a grieving father should. But something about his eyes bothered her. They weren't empty with grief. They were relieved. She'd seen enough real pain in her life to know what it looked like. This wasn't it. The next day after school, she went to the library. Asked the librarian about accessing old newspaper archives. The real ones, not just what was online. "We have microfiche for local papers going back 30 years, the librarian said. "What are you looking for?" "A story from about 15 years ago. Missing child case." The librarian's face softened. "School project?" "Yeah, something like that." She spent 4 hours scrolling through blurry microfiche. Her eyes burned, her neck hurt. Then she found it. A photo. Small. Grainy. But there. A little black girl. Maybe 5 years old, wearing a red cardigan. The caption read, "Sky Drayton, daughter of tech CEO Lennox Drayton. Missing since Tuesday. Sky Drayton. Not Rowan. Drayton." Her hand flew to her mouth. The room spun. She read the article with shaking hands. Sky Drayton, 5, disappeared during a family outing in the mountains. Drayton reported his daughter wandered off while he was taking a phone call. Despite extensive search efforts, no trace has been found. Authorities suspect exposure. Taking a phone call. That was his story. She wandered off, but Sky's fractured memories said something different. A man walking away. On purpose. Deliberately. "Just stay here. I'll be right back." Not a phone call. A choice. He didn't lose her. He left her. On purpose. If this just changed everything for you, smash that subscribe button and turn on notifications because the confrontation is coming. Comment liar if you think Lennox deserves to be exposed for what he did. Sky just found the smoking gun. Her vision blurred. Tears came without permission. She printed the article. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. Then she printed the photo. That little girl was her. Same face, same cardigan. Lennox Drayton was her father, and he'd left her in those mountains to die, then declared her dead when she survived. She walked home in a daze. Elias was at work. The house was empty. Sky taped the printed article to her bedroom wall, stared at it. Everything made sense now. Why Elias panicked when she mentioned Lennox. Why he had that envelope of cash. Why he lied about everything. He was paid to make sure she died, but he saved her instead. Gave her a new name, a new life. Protected her from a man who wanted her gone. Sky sat on her bed, pulled her red cardigan close. The same one from the photo. The same one she was wearing when Lennox left her. She'd kept it all these years without knowing why. Now she knew. It was evidence. Proof that she was Sky Drayton, the daughter who was supposed to be dead, but wasn't. And somewhere out there, Lennox was living his perfect life. Getting praised for charity work, for helping sick children, while his own daughter, the one he abandoned, barely survived on scraps. The anger that rose in her chest was hot, sharp. He owed her more than money, more than apologies. He owed her the truth, and she was going to make him face it. The truth didn't come from Elias, it came from a job. At 19, Sky started freelancing as a data researcher. Companies hired her to dig through public records, analyze patterns, check backgrounds. It was perfect for her. Remote work, flexible hours, used her perfect memory, and it paid better than the diner. Most jobs were boring. Market trends, property records, competitor analysis. Then one day, an email came from an anonymous client. Need someone to trace inconsistencies in Draytech Global's financial disclosures. Pay is triple your normal rate. Confidential. Sky stared at the screen. Draytech. That name again. She should have said no. Should have walked away. But she needed the money. And she needed to know. She accepted the job. The client sent encrypted files, hundreds of documents, financial statements, insurance claims, legal paperwork. Sky sorted through them methodically, looking for gaps, errors, things that didn't match. Most of it was standard corporate stuff, nothing unusual. Then she opened a folder labeled Legacy Claims Closed. Inside was an insurance payout from 15 years ago. The file name made her stop breathing. Minor dependent, mountain incident, deceased. Her hands shook as she clicked it. The claim was for $2 million, life insurance on a child. Beneficiary, Lennox Drayton. Reported age of deceased, 5 years old. Cause, exposure, and hypothermia. Unattended minor. Location, Cascade Mountain Range. Date filed 3 days after Skye remembered being in that hospital with Elias. She scrolled down. There was more. A death certificate, signed by a doctor she'd never heard of. Cause of death, complications from exposure. Time of death, estimated within 24 hours of disappearance. But that was impossible. Skye was alive 24 hours after she was left in those mountains. She was in a hospital, being treated, breathing. This death certificate was filed while she was still alive. She kept reading, hands trembling. The insurance company paid out in full. No investigation, no questions. Case closed. On paper, Skye Drayton died 15 years ago. On paper, her father collected $2 million. On paper, she never existed. Past age 5. Skye pushed away from her laptop. She couldn't breathe right. Not from her heart this time. From rage. He didn't just abandon her. He killed her. Legally. Officially. Filed the paperwork. Collected the money. Moved on. While she grew up poor. Sick. Struggling for every single thing. While Elias worked himself to death trying to keep her alive. While she wore secondhand clothes and skipped meals and wondered why she never had enough. Lennox had taken $2 million and built an empire on the lie of her death. She grabbed her phone, pulled up every photo she had of Lennox, stared at his face. That cold smile, those empty eyes. This man was her father, and he'd erased her. She didn't tell Elias right away, couldn't face him yet, too angry, too hurt. Instead, she kept digging, traced where that $2 million went, found it seeded into Draytech's early investments, helped launch the company that made him billions. Her death funded his success. The thought made her sick. She found more files, learned how he'd sealed records, paid off the right people, made sure no one asked questions. One document showed a payment to a private investigator, dated 2 weeks after she disappeared. The report was brief. No evidence of child recovery. Search suspended. Recommend closing case. But there was a handwritten note in the margin. Possible witness. ER. Paid and relocated. ER Elias Rowan. So Lennox knew. Knew someone had interfered. Knew someone took Skye. But he didn't pursue it. Didn't investigate further because he wanted her gone. Dead or missing, it didn't matter. As long as she wasn't his problem anymore. That night, Elias came home late. Skye was sitting at the kitchen table. The printed death certificate in front of her. He saw it immediately, froze in the doorway. Skye, you knew. Her voice was flat, cold. I can explain. You knew he declared me dead. You knew he collected insurance money. You knew everything. Elias's face crumbled. I was trying to protect you. By lying? For 14 years? By keeping you alive? His voice cracked. If Lennox knew you survived, he would have... He stopped. He would have what? Elias sat down hard, put his head in his hands. He would have finished the job. The words hung there, heavy and final. That's why you took me, Skye said. That's why you changed my name. That's why we've been hiding. I wasn't hiding. I was protecting you. From my own father. From a man who paid me to let you die. Silence. Skye looked at the death certificate again. Her name. Her fake death date. I can't stay here, she said quietly. Elias looked up, panic in his eyes. What? I can't keep living this lie, pretending I'm someone I'm not. Skye, please. My name isn't even Skye Rowan, it's Skye Drayton, and he's out there living his perfect life while we're drowning. What are you going to do? She stood up, folded the death certificate. I'm going to make him see me. make him face what he did. That's dangerous. I don't care. He's powerful, Sky. He has money, lawyers, connections, and I have the truth. She walked to her room, started packing. Elias followed, desperate now. Where will you go? The city. I'll figure it out. You can't afford. I'll make it work. She grabbed her laptop, her research, her red cardigan, everything she needed. Elias stood in the doorway, looking older than she'd ever seen him. I'm sorry, he whispered. For all of it. Sky stopped, looked at him. You saved my life. That's more than he ever did. Then she left, walked out into the night, with nothing but a backpack and a mission, to find Lennox Drayton and destroy the lie he built on her grave. The city didn't welcome her. It swallowed her whole. Sky found a room in a building that should have been condemned, the size of a closet, window painted shut, walls that smelled like cigarettes and mold. The landlord took cash and didn't ask questions. First and last month. No refunds. She paid with money she'd saved from freelancing, watched her savings drop by half in one transaction. The room had a bed, a chair, a hot plate that barely worked. She told herself it was temporary, just until she figured things out. That was 4 months ago. She enrolled in online classes, business, finance, law, things she'd need to understand Lennox's world, to fight him on his level. She worked, whenever she could find jobs, data entry, research, anything remote. But city living was expensive. Rent ate most of her money. Food came second. Everything else didn't matter. Her medication still cost $300 a month. No insurance, no help. She started skipping doses when money got tight, taking pills every other day instead of daily. Her chest hurt more often now. Her heart did that wrong rhythm thing, but she pushed through it. Sleep became optional. 4 hours a night if she was lucky. Study, work, research, Lennox, repeat. The hospital trips got worse. Twice in 3 months she woke up on her floor, couldn't remember passing out. Once a neighbor heard her fall, called an ambulance. She woke up in the ER, alone, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. You're severely anemic, the doctor said. When's the last time you ate properly? She couldn't remember. You need to take your medication every day, not when you feel like it. I know. Do you have anyone we can call? She thought about Elias, thought about calling him, but she'd left, made her choice, couldn't go back now. No, she said. There's no one. The bill came to $3,000. She set up a payment plan she knew she'd never finish. She missed Elias more than she wanted to admit, not because she forgave him for lying, but because surviving alone was harder than she expected. At least with Elias, they'd struggled together, shared the weight. Here, she carried everything by herself. Some nights she'd pull out her phone, scroll to his number, hover over the call button, but she never pressed it. What would she even say? The city wasn't inspiring like people said. It was loud, expensive, lonely. Nobody cared about anyone else. You could die on the street and people would step over you to catch their train. Sky learned that fast. One morning, she saw a man passed out on the sidewalk. People walked past him like he was invisible. She stopped, checked if he was breathing. He was, just exhausted. Homeless, probably. She left the sandwich she'd bought for lunch next to him, kept walking, went hungry that day, but at least someone ate. Finding work in Lennox's world was impossible at first. She applied to every entry-level job at Draytech and its subsidiaries. Every position that might get her inside. Rejected. Every time. We're looking for someone with more experience. Your qualifications don't match our needs. We've decided to go with another candidate. She knew what it really meant. She had no connections, no fancy degree, no references that mattered. She was nobody from nowhere trying to break into a world that didn't want her. But she kept trying, rewrote her resume 50 times, took free online courses to add certifications, applied to anything that might give her access. Months passed, Nothing changed. Her savings dwindled. Her health got worse. Her room got colder as winter came. She started, wondering if this was all a mistake, if she should just give up, go back to the mountains, apologize to Elias, live a small life, and forget about Lennox. Then one email came. Interview scheduled. Junior risk analyst, Draytech subsidiary. Her heart jumped. The job was barely above minimum wage. Temporary contract, no benefits, but it was inside the walls. She spent the night preparing, wore her only blazer, the one she'd bought secondhand 3 years ago. It didn't fit perfect, but it was professional enough. Practiced answers in the mirror, fought the trembling in her hands. The interview was in a bland office building, fluorescent lights, gray cubicles. A board manager asked standard questions. Why do you want this position? I'm interested in financial analysis and risk management. Not a lie, just not the whole truth. What's your experience with data? She talked about her freelance work, her research skills, her ability to spot patterns. The manager's expression changed, interested now. You seem overqualified for this position. I'm just looking for an opportunity to prove myself. They asked her to explain a financial concept. She did, word for word from memory, like reading from a textbook. The manager blinked. You're surprisingly sharp. A week later, the email came. Congratulations, you've been selected for the position. Skye stared at the screen. She was in. Not close to Lennox yet, not even in the same building, but inside the system. Inside the walls. It was a start. Her first day was overwhelming. Gray cubicles stretching forever. Cold fluorescent lights. People in business, casual, moving fast, talking fast, living fast. Nobody welcomed her. Nobody cared. Perfect. Because she wasn't there to make friends. She was there to learn, to watch, to dig. At lunch, she sat alone, listened to conversations around her, office gossip, company politics, who was getting promoted, who was getting fired. She absorbed everything. At night, she stayed late, read old reports, pieced together how money moved through the company. Slowly, painfully, she built a map. Every department, every process, every weakness, and every time she found something wrong, something hidden, something off, a fire burned behind her ribs. She wasn't powerless anymore. She was inside, and she was getting closer. Her first sight of him hit harder than she expected. 3 weeks into the job, Skye was walking down a corridor with files for her supervisor, just another Tuesday morning. Then the atmosphere changed. People straightened. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. Everyone moved to the sides of the hallway. Lennox Drayton walked past with 2 executives. His suit probably cost more than she made in 6 months. His shoes were polished. His hair perfectly styled with that distinguished gray at the temples. His voice was calm, controlled, discussing quarterly projections like he was talking about the weather. Skye's lungs stopped working. That voice, her vision flickered. The hallway disappeared for a second. Forest, cold, fog. Just stay here. I'll be right back. The files slipped from her hands. Papers scattered across the floor. Lennox didn't even glance at her. Not once. His eyes scanned the hallway without seeing anyone, like people were furniture. He walked past. His executives followed, gone in seconds. Skye stood frozen, heart hammering, that dangerous, irregular rhythm. A coworker bent down to help pick up the papers. You okay? You look pale. I'm fine. She wasn't fine. She grabbed the papers with shaking hands, hurried to the bathroom, locked herself in a stall, braced against the wall. Her chest hurt, not the normal hurt, the kind that meant trouble. You're okay, she whispered to herself. You're not that little girl anymore. But trauma doesn't care about time. It doesn't listen to logic. It just remembers. She counted her breaths, forced them to slow, waited for her heart to find its rhythm again. 10 minutes passed before she could move. When she came out, her hands were still shaking, but her resolve was sharper than ever. She wasn't just inside the building now. She'd seen him, breathed the same air, stood 10 feet away, and he had no idea who she was. To him, she was invisible, another low-level employee. Nobody worth noticing. That should have made things easier. It didn't. It made her angrier. She started watching him more carefully, learned his schedule, when he came to this building, which meetings he attended, where he went for lunch. She stayed invisible, kept her head down, did her work, but she listened. Office gossip revealed things official reports didn't. Drayton's been stressed lately. Board's pushing back on the new acquisitions. Did you hear he fired 3 department heads last week? No warning. I heard his assistant quit. 4th one this year. Lennox was demanding, cold. People feared him more than respected him. Skye absorbed every detail. She also started accessing files she wasn't supposed to see. Stayed late when the office emptied. Used credentials she'd memorized from co-workers who left their computers unlocked. She found internal communications. Financial reports not meant for her level. Strategy documents marked confidential. Piece by piece, she built a picture of Draytech's operations, and piece by piece, she found the cracks. Payments that didn't add up. Shell companies that went nowhere. Tax strategies that skirted legal lines. Nothing smoking gun obvious. Lennox was too smart for that. But enough to make someone curious. Enough to start asking questions. One evening, she was leaving late. Almost midnight. Building mostly empty. She stepped into the elevator. The doors started closing. A hand stopped them. Lennox walked in. Skye's heart stopped. He didn't look at her, just pressed a button. Stood on the opposite side. The elevator moved. Silence except for the mechanical hum. She kept her eyes down, tried to breathe normally, tried not to pass out. 10 floors. That's all she had to survive. Her heart pounded so loud she was sure he could hear it. 9 floors. He pulled out his phone, typed something, still didn't acknowledge her existence. 8 floors. She risked a glance, saw his face in profile. Older now, more lines, but the same cold expression. The same man who left her to die. 7 floors. Her hands clenched into fists, nails digging into palms. She wanted to say something, anything. I'm your daughter. I'm alive. You failed. But she stayed silent. 6 floors. He sighed, annoyed at something on his phone, like the weight of the world was on him, like he was the victim. 5 floors. Skye's chest tightened. She pressed a hand to it, trying to keep her heart steady. 4 floors. Lennox glanced at her, brief, dismissive. His eyes passed over her like she was nothing, then back to his phone. 3 floors. She'd imagined this moment 1,000 times, what she'd say, how she'd confront him, but standing here, trapped in this small box with him, she realized something. He had all the power, all the resources, all the control, and she had nothing but anger and a truth no one would believe. 2 floors. The elevator dinged. Ground floor. Lennox walked out first, didn't look back. Disappeared through the lobby doors into a waiting car. Skye stepped out after, legs shaking. She made it outside, around the corner, then collapsed against a wall. Her whole body trembled. Her heart raced. Her vision blurred. She slid down to sit on the cold sidewalk. People walked past. No one stopped. She pulled out her phone, stared at Elias's number. Her finger hovered over the call button. She needed someone, anyone, but she didn't press it. Instead, she put the phone away, stood up, wiped her face. She'd come too far to break now, too far to need saving. She was going to finish this, even if it killed her. After 6 months of rejections and dead ends, opportunity finally came. Not through applications or networking, through desperation. Draytech needed someone for a new transparency initiative, some PR move to improve their image after a minor scandal about tax havens. They wanted a junior analyst who could review internal processes and make recommendations. Low level, temporary, barely a step up from what Sky was already doing, but it meant access to higher level systems, better files, real information. She applied immediately. The interview was different this time. 3 people instead of 1. Sharper questions, more scrutiny. Why do you want this position? I believe transparency is essential for sustainable business practices. Corporate speak. They loved it. Can you handle working with sensitive information? I understand the importance of confidentiality and discretion. You'll be reporting directly to senior management. Can you handle that pressure? She thought about growing up poor, working 3 jobs at 16, watching Elias destroy himself, nearly dying multiple times from a heart that didn't work right. Pressure doesn't scare me. They exchanged looks, impressed or skeptical, she couldn't tell. 2 weeks later, she got the email. Congratulations, please report to the main Draytech building on Monday. The main building, where Lennox worked. Her heart did that skip thing, but this time from excitement, not fear. She was moving up. The new office was different, still corporate, still cold, but cleaner, nicer chairs, better computers. People here dressed sharper, talked faster, moved with purpose. Sky kept her head down, did her work, stayed invisible, but she listened to everything. Lunch conversations revealed power dynamics, who reported to whom, who had influence, who was vulnerable. She learned the rhythms of the building, when executives arrived, when they left, where they went. She learned which departments talked to each other and which ones didn't. She learned where the security cameras had blind spots. All of it went into her mental file, stored perfectly in her steel trap memory. At night she stayed late, reading reports, following money trails, building her map of Draytech's operations. She found more irregularities, more things that didn't quite make sense. Shell companies and offshore accounts, payments labeled as consulting fees that went nowhere, tax strategies that technically weren't illegal but definitely weren't ethical. Lennox had built his empire carefully, every questionable move buried under layers of legitimate business. But Sky had time, and patience, and a memory that forgot nothing. She started documenting everything, taking screenshots on her personal phone, making notes in encrypted files at home, building a case, slowly, carefully. 3 months in, she got called to a meeting. Her supervisor looked stressed. We need someone to prepare a presentation for the leadership retreat next month. Internal processes, efficiency recommendations, that kind of thing. I can do that. It's high profile. Lennox will be there, other executives. You sure you can handle it? Her stomach dropped, but her voice stayed steady. Yes. Good. You have 3 weeks. After the meeting, Sky sat at her desk, hands shaking under the table where no one could see. A leadership retreat. With Lennox. This was it. The opportunity she'd been waiting for. She pulled up the retreat details, read through the agenda. Team building and strategic planning in a relaxed mountain setting. Mountain setting. Her chest tightened. She kept reading. The location was in the Cascades, near several luxury lodges, near the same mountains where everything began. A plan started forming in her head. Dangerous, risky, maybe impossible, but possible. She could propose the specific location, design the agenda, control the setting, lead him back to the place he left her. Make him face it. Make him remember. Not with evidence or lawyers or public exposure. With the truth. In the place where it all started. She spent the next 3 weeks preparing. Built a professional presentation about transparency and leadership. Made it good enough that no one would question her recommendations. Then she quietly suggested a specific lodge for the retreat. One she'd researched carefully. This location offers excellent facilities and the right atmosphere for executive alignment. Her supervisor approved it without hesitation. Lennox's assistant approved it. Nobody questioned why she chose that particular place. Nobody knew it was 15 miles from where Sky Drayton was left to die. The retreat was scheduled for late October, 2 weeks away. Sky confirmed her attendance, booked her travel. Then she did something she hadn't done in months. She called Elias. He answered on the second ring. "Sky?" His voice cracked, like he'd been waiting for this call since she left. "I need your help," she said. "Anything. Name it." "I need you to meet me, in the mountains, the ones where you found me." Silence. Then, "What are you planning?" "Something that ends this, one way or another." "Sky, are you with me or not?" More silence. She could hear him breathing, thinking. "I'm with you," he finally said. "Always." She closed her eyes, relief mixed with fear. "I'll send you the details. Don't tell anyone. And Elias? Yeah? Bring the envelope, the one you never spent. I need it." She hung up before he could ask why, sat back in her chair, heart pounding. 2 weeks until the retreat. 2 weeks until Lennox Drayton would return to the scene of his worst crime. And this time, his dead daughter would be waiting for him. The company shuttle left at 6 in the morning. 12 executives, 3 assistants. Sky. Everyone complained about the early start, about leaving the city, about spending a weekend doing trust exercises. Sky said nothing, just stared out the window as the shuttle climbed into the mountains. The roads got narrower, trees pressed in from both sides. Every turn brought back something, a smell, a sound, a feeling. Her chest got tighter with each mile. Someone asked if she was okay. Fine, just carsick. They believed her. The lodge appeared after 2 hours, massive, expensive, all wood and glass and luxury. Staff rushed out to help with bags, offered drinks, gave room keys. Sky took hers but didn't go inside yet. She walked to the edge of the property, looked out at the forest. Somewhere out there, 15 miles maybe, was the clearing where Lennox left her, where she almost died, where everything changed. Her hands shook. She shoved them in her pockets. "You okay?" She turned. One of the executives. Mark something. He smiled like he cared, but didn't. "Just getting some air. Beautiful up here, right? Really clears the head." He had no idea. "Yeah, beautiful." He walked back inside. Sky stayed. The wind moved through the trees. That same sound, branches creaking, leaves rustling. Her memory pulled her back 15 years. Cold ground, red cardigan, fear so big she couldn't breathe. She closed her eyes, forced herself to stay present. She wasn't that little girl anymore. She was here for a reason. The first day was boring corporate stuff. Team-building exercises, trust falls, conversations about synergy and paradigm shifts. Lennox showed up late afternoon. Helicopter landing on the lodge's pad. Everyone straightened when he walked in, like soldiers when a general enters. He gave a short speech about vision and leadership. His voice was calm, controlled, empty. Sky sat in the back, taking notes, staying invisible. But her heart hammered the whole time. After the speech, people mingled, networking, kissing up to whoever might help their careers. Sky slipped outside. She'd arranged to meet Elias at a parking area 2 miles down the road, too far for anyone from the lodge to see. She walked fast. The temperature dropped as the sun set. Elias's truck was already there. He got out when he saw her. They stood awkwardly for a moment. First time seeing each other in almost a year. He looked older, more gray hair, deeper lines. "You look tired," he said. "So do you." He pulled out the envelope, still thick, still full of cash that had never been touched. "Why do you need this?" "Evidence. Proof of what he paid you to do." Elias handed it over. His hand lingered on it. "This is dangerous, Sky. He's powerful. If he figures out who you are, he won't. You don't know that. I've been working in his building for months. He's walked past me a dozen times. He has no idea. Because he thinks you're dead." "Exactly. And tomorrow I'm going to show him he was wrong." Elias's jaw clenched. How? There's a reflection hike scheduled. Team building thing. I'm leading it. Where? The clearing. Where you found me. His face went pale. Sky, no. I've already planned the route. Already got approval. Tomorrow morning I'm taking him back there. And then what? You think he'll just confess? Apologize? I don't need an apology. I need him to see me, really see me. To know that I survived, that I know what he did. And if he tries to hurt you, he won't. Not with witnesses around. You're betting your life on that. I've been betting my life since the day you found me. Elias looked at her. Really looked at her. Saw the determination. The anger. The years of pain turned into purpose. I can't change your mind, can I? No. He pulled something else from his truck. Her old red cardigan. Worn. Faded. Mended in places. I kept it. In case you ever came back. Sky took it. Held it against her chest. Thank you. For everything. For saving me. For trying. I should have told you the truth sooner. Probably. But you kept me alive. That's what matters. They stood there in the cold. Two people bound by a lie that became something real. I'll be nearby tomorrow, Elias said, in case anything goes wrong. Okay. Sky? Yeah? Don't do anything stupid. She smiled, small, sad. Too late for that. She walked back toward the lodge. Elias watched until she disappeared into the trees. Then he got in his truck and drove to a spot where he could watch the lodge from a distance. He'd saved her once in these mountains. He'd do it again if he had to. That night, Sky couldn't sleep. She lay in her expensive lodge bed. So different from the closet-sized room she'd been living in. Tomorrow, everything would change. One way or another. She pulled out her phone, opened the photo of her death certificate. Sky Drayton. Deceased. She'd been a ghost for 15 years. Tomorrow, she'd come back to life. And make sure Lennox Drayton never forgot it. Morning came too fast. Sky woke at 5. Couldn't sleep anyway, heart pounding, hands shaking. She pulled on her hiking clothes, laced her boots, slipped the red cardigan into her backpack along with the envelope. Today was the day. But first she had a decision to make. The night before, unable to sleep, she'd done something dangerous. Used her laptop to access Draytek's internal network from the lodge's Wi-Fi. Risky, but necessary. She'd found what she was looking for. A vulnerability in the financial reporting system. One sequence of commands. That's all it would take. The system would crash. Reports would corrupt. Stock prices would drop. Investors would panic. Lennox's empire would bleed millions, maybe billions. She'd written the code, tested it in a sandbox. It worked perfectly. All she had to do was execute it. One click. That's all. Revenge. Simple. Clean. Final. She'd stared at that execute button for 2 hours, her finger hovering over the key. Now, sitting in her lodge room, she opened her laptop again. The code was still there. Waiting. Her chest hurt, not from her heart condition, from something heavier. She thought about all those years, the poverty, the pain, watching Elias destroy himself, nearly dying alone in city hospitals, all because Lennox decided she wasn't worth keeping alive. He deserved this. Deserved worse. But then she thought about the company, the thousands of people who worked there, people like her, struggling, just trying to survive, people who had nothing to do with what Lennox did 15 years ago. Crashing the system would hurt them too, their jobs, their families, their lives. She'd become exactly what he was, someone who destroyed innocent people for personal gain. Her finger moved away from the key. She closed the laptop. No, she whispered to herself. Not like this. She wasn't there to destroy blindly. wasn't there to hurt people who never hurt her. She was there to expose the truth, to make Lennox face what he'd done, and there was only one place that would break him: the mountains. Breakfast was at 7. Everyone gathered in the main hall. Lennox sat at the head table, drinking coffee, reading something on his tablet. Sky stood at the front with a clipboard. "Morning, everyone. Today's activity is a reflection hike. Light trail about 3 miles. We'll discuss leadership and transparency in a natural setting." A few groans, some eye rolls. "Do we have to?" someone asked. "It's on the agenda," Sky said. "Approved by Mr. Drayton himself." Lennox looked up, bored. "Let's make it quick. I have calls this afternoon." "Of course, sir." Her voice stayed steady even though her heart was racing. They set out at 8, 12 people following Sky up a narrow trail. She led them deeper into the forest, away from the marked paths, toward something only she and Elias knew about. The executives complained about their shoes, about the cold, about missing their phones that didn't have signal out here. Sky kept walking. Lennox stayed in the middle of the group, silent, checking his watch every few minutes. The trees got thicker. The path got narrower. Some people started asking where they were going. "Just a bit further," Sky said. "There's a clearing ahead. Perfect spot." Her hands were shaking now. She shoved them in her pockets. Every step brought back memories, sounds, smells. This was the same forest, the same trees, the same cold. Her chest got tight. Her breathing got shallow. "Not now. Don't break now." She forced herself to keep moving. Then she saw it. The clearing. Smaller than she remembered, but the same. Definitely the same. She stopped walking. Everyone caught up, gathered around. "Here?" someone asked. "This is the spot?" Sky didn't answer, couldn't answer. She was 7 years old again, on her knees, cold, scared, calling for her father. "Miss Rowan?" An assistant touched her arm. "You okay?" She blinked, came back to the present. "Yeah, sorry. This is the spot." People spread out, started talking about leadership, about vision, corporate nonsense. Sky turned. Lennox stood at the edge of the clearing, looking around. His face was blank, unreadable, but something in his posture changed. His shoulders got tight. He recognized this place. She could see it in his eyes. Recognition, then denial, then something like fear. He looked at her, really looked at her for the first time, and Sky knew this was the moment. She reached into her backpack, pulled out the red cardigan, slipped it on. The same one from 15 years ago, faded now, worn, but unmistakable. Lennox's face went white, his eyes locked on the cardigan. Then, on her face, she saw the moment it clicked, the moment he realized, his daughter, his dead daughter, standing in the exact spot where he left her to die, very much alive. He stumbled backward, nearly fell. "No," he whispered, "that's not. You can't." "Hello, Dad," Sky said. Her voice was calm, cold, everything he'd been for 15 years. The clearing went silent. Everyone turned, confused, watching. Lennox opened his mouth. Nothing came out. And for the first time in his perfect, controlled life, he had no idea what to do. Everyone stared, the executives, the assistants, all of them looking between Sky and Lennox, confused, waiting for an explanation. "I'm sorry," Mark said. "Did you just call him Dad?" Sky ignored him, kept her eyes on Lennox. He was frozen, face white, hands shaking. She'd imagined this moment 1,000 times, what she'd say, how she'd feel, but now that it was happening, she felt nothing, just cold. "This place," she said quietly. "Do you remember it?" Lennox's mouth opened, closed, opened again. "I don't know what you're talking about." His voice cracked. Everyone heard it. "You don't remember bringing your daughter here? 15 years ago?" "I don't have a daughter." "You did once. Sky Drayton. 5 years old." You brought her to these mountains and left her right here." She pointed at the ground, at the exact spot where she'd collapsed. "You told her to stay, that you'd be right back. Then you walked away." The executive started whispering, pulling out phones even though there was no signal. "This is insane," Lennox said, louder now, trying to regain control. "I don't know who you are or what game you're playing. I'm not playing anything." Sky pulled out the envelope, held it up. "This is the money you paid a man named Elias Rowan, $7,000. To make sure your daughter's situation ended in these mountains, to make sure she never came back." Lennox's eyes went wide, fixed on the envelope. "But he didn't do what you paid him for. He found me, carried me to a hospital, saved my life, gave me his name and raised me in poverty while you collected $2 million in life insurance." She pulled out the death certificate, unfolded it. "Sky Drayton, deceased, signed by you, filed while I was still alive." She walked toward him. He stepped back. "You declared me dead, collected the money, built your company on my grave, and you never looked back." "Stop," Lennox whispered. "Why? Does the truth hurt?" "Everyone knows I lost my daughter. It was tragic. An accident? It wasn't an accident." The words hung in the air. Sky turned to face the others. They were recording now, phones up, capturing everything. "Good. Let them. My father brought me here on purpose. Left me in the cold with a heart condition he knew would kill me. Then he went home and waited for me to die so he could cash in." "That's a lie," Lennox said, desperate now. "She wandered off. I searched for her. The police searched for 3 days. Then you called it off and filed a death certificate. Because there was no hope. Because you didn't want anyone to find me alive." Lennox's face twisted. Rage mixing with fear. "You have no proof, just a crazy story in a cardigan." Sky pulled out her phone, played a recording. Elias's voice, clear and steady. "My name is Elias Rowan. 15 years ago, a man named Lennox Drayton paid me $7,000 to ensure his daughter died in the Cascade Mountains. I couldn't do it. I saved her instead. This is my confession." The recording stopped. Silence. Then Lennox did something she didn't expect. He started crying. Not fake tears. Real ones, shaking his whole body. He dropped to his knees. "I was broke," he whispered. "The company was failing. I had massive debts. The insurance money was the only way out." Everyone gasped. He was confessing, actually confessing. She was sick anyway. The medical bills were crushing me. I thought it would be mercy. Quick, painless, better than watching her suffer. "So you chose murder," Sky said. No emotion in her voice. "I chose survival. For me, for the company, for something bigger than one sick child." The words landed like poison. "You chose money over your daughter's life." Lennox looked up at her, tears streaming. "I'm sorry. God, I'm sorry. I was desperate. I was scared. I didn't know what else to do." Sky stared at him. This man, this billionaire, this philanthropist who pretended to care about sick children, broken on the ground where he left her to die. She thought she'd feel satisfaction, victory. Instead, she just felt tired. "You have 2 choices," she said. "Turn yourself in. Confess everything. Face the consequences. Or I release everything I have to the media. The death certificate, the insurance payout, Elias's testimony, the recordings from today. Everything. That'll destroy me. You destroyed yourself 15 years ago. Right here." Lennox put his head in his hands. The executives backed away, already distancing themselves. One of them was on the phone now. Signal must have come back, probably calling lawyers, board members, damage control. Sky turned. Elias stood at the edge of the clearing. She didn't know when he'd arrived, but he was there, watching. She walked toward him. Behind her, Lennox sobbed. Security would come soon. Police, probably. It was over. Elias met her halfway, put his arms around her. "You did it," he whispered. "Yeah. How do you feel?" She thought about it. Really thought. "Free," she finally said. For the first time in her life, the weight was gone. The truth was out, and she could finally breathe. The police came 3 hours later. 2 officers hiking up the trail. Someone from the lodge must have called once the signal came back. By then, Lennox had stopped crying. He sat on a fallen log, staring at nothing. Empty. The executives had scattered. Gone back to the lodge. Probably already calling lawyers, updating resumes, saving themselves. Only Sky, Elias, and 2 assistants remained. The officers looked confused. "We got a call about a disturbance?" Sky handed them everything. The death certificate, the insurance documents, the envelope with Elias's fingerprints still on it, the recording. "This man declared his daughter dead 15 years ago and collected life insurance. But she's alive. I'm alive. This is fraud and attempted murder." The older officer looked at Lennox, then at Sky. "You're saying you're his daughter?" "DNA will prove it." Lennox didn't fight, didn't argue, just stood when they asked him to. Let them put handcuffs on. Before they led him away, he looked at Sky one last time. "I really am sorry." She said nothing. What was there to say? Sorry doesn't undo 15 years, doesn't erase the poverty or the pain or the nights she almost died alone. Sorry is just a word people use when they get caught. They took him down the mountain. Sky and Elias followed an hour later. The media found out by evening. Tech billionaire arrested for insurance fraud and child abandonment. The story spread fast. Every news outlet, every website, trending on everything. Photos of Lennox in handcuffs, photos of Sky from her employee badge, side-by-side comparisons showing the resemblance. Her phone exploded with messages, reporters, producers, people offering book deals and movie rights. She turned it off. The police wanted her statement. She gave it. Every detail, every memory, everything. They wanted Elias's statement too. He confessed to taking the money, to lying on hospital forms, to creating a false identity. "I'll go to jail if I have to," he said, "but I'd do it again." The prosecutor looked at him for a long time. "You saved a child's life. That counts for something." They didn't press charges against Elias, called him a witness instead of an accomplice. Lennox's lawyers tried to make deals, claimed mental breakdown, temporary insanity, extreme financial pressure. None of it worked. The evidence was too clear, the confession too public. He was charged with fraud, attempted murder, and filing a false death certificate. Bail was set at $5 million. He posted it immediately. But his empire was already crumbling. The board of Dratec removed him. Shareholders filed lawsuits. Partners backed away. His name went from philanthropist to monster overnight. Everything he built on her grave collapsed in 72 hours. 2 weeks later, Sky sat in a lawyer's office. The life insurance company wanted to settle. Offered to return the $2 million with interest. $4 million total. More money than she'd ever imagined. "What do you want to do?" the lawyer asked. Sky thought about it. She could take the money. Disappear. Live comfortably. Never work again. But money wasn't why she did this. "I want it donated to families who can't afford their kids' medical bills. Set up a real fund. One that actually helps people." The lawyer blinked. "All of it?" "All of it. Ms. Drayton." "Rowan. My name is Sky. Rowan." The lawyer nodded. "Ms. Rowan, that's very generous, but you should think about your future." "I have been thinking about it. For 15 years. She signed the papers. Every last one. The money would go to families like hers and Elias's. People who had to choose between medication and rent, between treatment and food. It wouldn't save everyone, but it would save someone. That was enough. She found Elias waiting outside the lawyer's office. "You gave it all away, didn't you?" "How'd you know?" "Because you're you." They walked to his truck, the same one he'd used to carry her down the mountain 15 years ago. Still running somehow. "What now?" he asked. Good question. Lennox was facing trial. His company was in chaos. The media circus would continue for months, but for Sky it was over. She'd faced the man who tried to erase her, proved she existed, made him answer for what he did. She'd won, not because she destroyed him, but because she survived him. Now, she looked at Elias. Now I live. Not as Sky Drayton, the dead daughter, not as a ghost or a lie or a secret, just as herself, flawed, damaged, but alive. Elias smiled. "Need a place to stay while you figure things out?" "You offering?" "The house is still standing, barely, but it's home." Home. She thought about that word, what it meant. Not the mansion Lennox probably lived in, not the luxury or the money or the perfect image. Just a cracked house with a man who saved her life and spent 15 years trying to make up for one terrible choice. "Yeah," she said. "I'd like that." They drove back to the mountains. Not to the clearing where everything ended, but to the small town where everything began. Where a man found a dying child and decided she was worth saving. Where poverty taught her strength and pain taught her purpose. Where she learned that survival isn't about having everything, it's about refusing to disappear. Sky Rowan didn't die in those mountains. She was born there, and now, finally, she was free.